Appreciate being here and getting the opportunity to share with everyone. I had to parlay off of what Paul said there. We didn't plan this, but it leads up to the beginning of my story. One of the things I put at the bottom of my email signature when I used to work at a corporate job was Psalm 27:4, which reads, "One thing I've asked of the Lord that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple." I got a lot of heat from HR for putting that at the bottom of my signature. You can have a quote about Einstein, you can have a quote about just anyone in the world. If you put something innocuous that doesn't even use the word God or Jesus, you get called into HR to have a conversation. If you want to know how that went, feel free to ask me later. It was a fun conversation. But ultimately, in my life, what part of the God story I want to share is that was part of leading to a different calling from a corporate life. Fast forward, we had a lot of opportunities. We didn't know what was going to happen. And we ended up becoming part of a church planting team, planting a church, Metrobrook Church, downtown as an offshoot of Elmbrook. And we were about 6 weeks out from launching, and I started talking to some people, how's this going to work? So we put together a budget of what we think is going to be reasonable. Because as a church planter, as a missionary, a lot of times, it's not a paid job. It's you get paid what you can fundraise job. So I'm looking at fundraising, and I start talking to people who had done the missionary work before, and I said, how did you make this happen? And they said, well, about 6 months out, we start putting together a list of people we want to talk to. I'm like, 6 months? We're starting in 6 weeks. So I start putting together a letter. Well, I don't know what it takes. What about the classes you took? There are classes for missionaries. I don't have any of that. I just felt this leading to go. So I put together a letter and talked about how to go, and then sort of to really make HR happy, on my way out the door, I sent it out. I was in finance, so I sent it out to the Global Finance at that company. So everyone got a copy of my going out letter, is in part to say, hey, I'm going to be gone for the next year, but also, if you're interested at the very end, here's my support letter. I've enjoyed working with all of you for the last number of years. Fundraising was one of the most challenging parts for me. My wife and I, we cut our budget by over 70%, and we were choosing to step out on faith. When you are used to that paycheck, used to that flow of money, used to that, it's going to come, it's going to happen, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it, all of a sudden, when you got to send out a letter and you hope people come through, life's a little bit different. Now, what happens in my mind, and you may do this too, and it may happen when you look at customers and when you look at prospects and you look at opportunities, you look out in the room and you're like, oh, they make a lot of money. That's probably a $500 check a month right there. This person's pretty good. I'm trying to get to $2,500 a month, annual, monthly recurring revenue. Like, that's how my mind's thinking. Turns out, that's not how it happened. The people I didn't expect to give anything, I kept them on the list because I wanted to encourage them with the prayers and the ministry activity that we're doing, became faithful followers. In my role, actually, at that job, I knew what a lot of those people make because I was in finance and oversaw the compensation. They were giving sacrificially. Everyone that I chalked up that was a guaranteed giver gave zero. And what I quickly found out was that it's not about me, and it's not about what I know, and it's not about my plan, but because I'd stepped out in faith and said, I'm going to trust God, we're going to get this figured out. While I was going through that experience, one of the things you have to do when you cut your budget is life looks differently. Date night looks a lot differently. Socializing with your friends look differently. We're in a Lutheran church, so it became a lot of potlucks. I had to invite people over, and we can provide one dish. I don't have enough money to afford to feed everyone, so everyone bring a dish. We had better fellowship during that year and greater engagement. And I remember at one of those meetings, I'm sitting around, there were like 7, 8 other people there, and you can probably imagine the gratitude that was pouring out of my heart for all these people giving back to me as I sat there, and I literally thought, I can make more money than that person. I'm better than that person. I'm smarter than that person. I had tied my worth and my value to how much I could make, what I could produce, and who I was. I didn't have a heart of humility. I didn't have a heart of gratitude, true gratitude. I like seeing a check come in, but I didn't have true gratitude. And that was at the end of that night, that was a really humbling, low, and hard experience. To go, here's people that are taking time out of their lives. Many of them had chosen to give. We'd get literally a pick and save grocery card in our mailbox some days, unlabeled. It would just be there. People knew that we were running short, and so they'd put a card in the mailbox. And my attitude is like, I can make more, I can do more, I can be more. Moving forward, about 8 months in, I had to sit down with the pastor one time, and he said, Brent, I got to tell you, payroll's coming in 2 weeks, and there's no money left in your fundraising account. And I had been sending out letters when people were donors or they wanted to sign up for prayer support, handwritten letters every day, one a day, going out, sharing everything about what was going on. There was always the paragraph, this is what's going on in the ministry, this is the impact I'm having, this is my appeal for fundraising, and these are some ways you can pray for me. Simple 4-part formula. I wasn't even humble enough to ask people how to do it. That's just what I came up with. That's what I did. I actually still think it's very effective because it's sharing what was on my heart. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I told the pastor, I don't know what to do. Literally everyone I know is on this list. Everyone is getting this information. I don't know how to happen. I never reached that monthly reoccurring revenue goal of like, it was always $2,500. It would be $7,000 for 1 month, and then $200, and then $300, and then maybe $3,000, and then $400. And it was nerve-wracking. And the only way, and I think God did all these things to help reshape me and to say, this, you don't fundraise. When you're out on mission, you do not fundraise. I, God, the Lord whose temple I wanted to sit in and gaze on his beauty all day long, is the one who does the fundraising. He will take care of it. My job was to go do mission. My job actually wasn't to fundraise. I'd missed the point. My job wasn't, my worth and value wasn't based on what I could do and what I could make. When we were done with I had a 1-year commitment there, and I wanted to raise $30,000. By the time I was done, I believe I had raised $0, and God had raised $30,091 on my behalf. Not because of any brilliance that I had, not because of the trust that I chose to put in other people, but because ultimately it broke me down, it made me more faithful. So when I fast forward to now, I'm starting out, I'm relaunching a new business. I'd started out, I thought I was in a different position. I was working on a different client set. I've now moved to a different category. Oops, now you got to rebuild your business. We're going back to don't have much revenue, don't have much income stream, don't have much in the pipeline. And you can bet that because of my years of experience in the ministry, my mind immediately went back to like, ooh, let's go trust God. Nope. I'm looking at other people out in the coaching industry. I'm a small business coach, and I'm like, oh man, I think I'm better than them. I can speak better than that person, and my mind just immediately gets snapped back there. And so it's with difficult humility to go back and say, look, God taught me something 15 years ago. Those lessons are applicable today. If you're called on mission, I know a lot of people like getting fired up about passion. I think passion burns out quickly. I want you to go work with purpose. Even when I talk about who I want to work with, Milwaukee's small businesses, everyone's like, why Milwaukee? Why not whatever? You can reach everyone globally. You can get on the internet. You can coach via Zoom. You can do whatever. Why limit yourself? It's because my purpose, I was part of planting a church downtown. I moved and lived in the city. I want to support this region. I want to see it thrive. I want to see places rehabilitate, rejuvenate, and grow by having thriving businesses so we can have amazing communities. That's what I get. That's my purpose. That's what I feel like God has given me as my purpose. So when I look at what I need to remember, these are lessons I want to share with you. One is that God will provide, and it's often through others. The difficult part is I want to go out and sit out in the wilderness and wait for ravens to bring me some meat and say, God, take care of me. The truth is, it was other people who provide. In my current situation, sometimes it comes from referrals I don't expect, opportunities I wasn't looking for. But if I'm staying focused on the purpose and what I'm called to do and what I want to encourage each one of you, find your purpose, not your paycheck. Find out what it is that you feel like you're called to do. And then trust that God will provide the details. And it may not look the way you want it to. My wife and I, on well less than 70% of what we were making, so we were down to 30% of what we were making for, we felt like that year was more rich than any previous year we'd had together. Second, I want to say you are not, and I am not defined by how much I make and how much I do or how well I perform. I say this mantra to myself often when I get caught thinking about this lie. I say, God, thank you for giving me infinite worth by creating me. Thank you for proving it by sacrificing your son on my behalf. And then thank you for giving me your infinite righteousness through my belief in his life, death, resurrection, and ascension. I have to battle the lie that I'm worth what I make. And I repeat that to myself as a mantra. Now, as a good evangelical, we oftentimes don't like to embrace mantras in my faith tradition, but I found that mantra helps me because I've got to replace the lie. And I don't believe that I'm worthy, but I believe that God said I'm worth it because he came down to sacrifice his son. And the last thing I would say is don't judge others by their net worth, by their capabilities. The same way I don't want to judge myself, don't go judging other people. Don't go looking and say, well, if I cozy up to this person, they know a lot of people, they know a lot of businesses, they're probably going to throw some business off my way because they're amazing. Go out and serve all people equally. As I wrap up here, one of the pieces I want to reflect on is Philippians 4:11 through 13. A lot of people have probably memorized Philippians 4:13. I think the context is important, but it particularly applies to my life story and where God's chosen to bring me. And I'll read it here. Not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And so my encouragement for all of you is to put your faith in him, allow him to strengthen you, and go out and serve your purpose. Thank you.